Hi, welcome back to this week's chat with Paul and Joshua. Today we're going to cover school, education, how you decide to become a tradesman, and then moving across to Dubai with a trades, and also advice that we offer other tradesmen that message us quite regularly for either a job or advice in moving out to Dubai as well. Because there's quite a few little bits and pieces to consider with not only that move, but also the process of when you're younger, getting into being a tradesman in the beginning. I don't even know really what led me into being it, but we're going to discuss and hopefully we'll get the answers from both of us. But first of all, I'm a bit annoyed because I had a really crap workout this morning. And one of the things I was going to talk about was how exercise in the morning really sets you up for the day. I know you're obviously an avid cyclist. How important do you think that is by setting the day off with a good bit of exercise?
Oh, it's massive. Absolutely massive. For me, cycling, it wasn't something I've always done, but it was a way, I don't know, I find it as a way, probably like with you with the gym, it's a way of channeling just that inner noise. And it just, for me, it just silences it. There's a lot often we have going on in our heads from running a business and having so many things going on. And oftentimes I find it hard to silence that noise. And I think for me, cycling was certainly a time when just it makes everything quiet.
Yeah. So just in that time that you're exercising, there's a bit of you time. But then do you feel that if you miss it, the rest of the day, you can maybe feel a little bit sort of like groggy or perhaps not in a good mood?
100%. Like always, and Ellie will be the avid one for this because often she'll say to me, go out.
Yeah.
And she can feel it. There was a period where I wouldn't really do anything on a Sunday and it'd be my off day. And I was just awful. And I knew I was groggy. I was just grouchy and it just wasn't who I wanted to be. So I just then ended up just going or doing something on a Sunday, you know, whether it's going down a driving range, going for a bike ride, going for a run, just something that my thing is I need to get up early and get out.
Yeah.
Once I've done that and I can then settle, I'm good for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'm so similar. I mean, the same as what you say, Ellie tells you to get out. Laura will say the same to me. Like within 10 minutes of getting up, she'll know. She'll be like, you can go to the gym down. I'm like, no, I don't think so. What are we doing? Oh, I'm not sure. She'll be like, Paul, go to the gym. And I come back and I'm like, right, cool, all done now.
Yeah,
right, I've expelled that.
Your mind just switches instantly.
Yeah.
Like I'm always the same. And it's a lot of, I think because for me with cycling, like you can't go on your phone. I often don't listen to music either because it's just time for me to be in my own head and
I guess safety as well if you're on the bike.
And oftentimes I if I've got anything on my mind, I can kind of figure it out while I'm cycling because there's nothing else to do apart from address it and think about it and overcome it and realize either it's not a problem or it is a problem. And if it is a problem, how are we going to get over it? But for me, it's such a big part of my life that I couldn't imagine my life without some sort of exercise or channeling.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we talk about doing it first thing in the day. It kind of like brings us on nicely to obviously a bit of the topic that we're going to talk about today in so much like school and education and like how you grow up and how you adapt in school. One of the key things, like we're saying, you set your day up with a bit of exercise. We go and expel a bit of energy and it sets us up for the day. We're ready to then have time for other people, listen, learn, absorb. At school, shouldn't they just do that? Like, I obviously send my kids to school and they just go straight into their lessons. But I can remember when I was a kid, I don't know if it's the same for you, but we'd always try and nick 5 minutes and have a kick around with the ball or something like that, just to like expel that energy. One, because we love playing football, but like two, I guess you just have this built up energy. And if you don't go and expel that first thing, then how will you set yourself up for the rest of the day to go and learn? Yeah,
I don't think it's something back then that, you know, when you think back to when you was a kid in school and primary school, secondary school in the UK, you don't think about it like that back then. But I always, now you say that, I kind of understand it because I'd always either walk or cycle to work on my BMX or, you know, you walk into school with a football and you're kicking it with mates. And like you say, you get there probably early, maybe have a 10-minute or 15-minute kick around or ride around the playground or something.
See you with the football at your feet, by the way.
I was dangerous back in the day, I tell you. Like you can ask anyone. But yeah, you don't know it back then. And I think when you become an adult and you find ways of channeling that energy, you know you need to do something. And I think so many people aren't onto it. Like whether it's gym, whether it's running, whether it's cycling, whether it's doing something you enjoy, you just get up and do that in the morning. Your whole day and life can change.
And I've never heard anyone say, oh, I wish I never exercised this morning.
You were close to, I think, with your bad workout.
Well, it was only because I didn't have my music. The actual workout was okay, but I feel like it was missing its edge because my headphones stopped working. something's wrong with them. I've had to order a new pair. So I reverted to my little in-ear AirPod things. And so I thought, yeah, cool, they're pretty good. Stick them in, 3% battery.
Oh,
And they've been sat on the charger all week as well. So they mustn't have been like aligned properly and just not charging. So I was like, oh, so it just took the edge off it, but it was still a good workout. And I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't ever regret it. But yeah, you rarely hear someone say, I wish I never exercised. I feel awful after it. You always feel better. You always feel energized and
100%.
set up for the day. So yeah, I mean, it going back to the school sort of side of it, I always found it so hard to sit still for too long or concentrate or listen to what the teacher said. I was always more interested in what my friends had to say next to me or making silly noises to entertain someone. I found it so hard to concentrate. How about you? Are you similar? How was like school and concentration for you?
it's an interesting conversation that I've been looking forward to having, because I know it's probably one thing I don't know nothing about your school experience and you don't know about mine, but I think we probably had very similar school experiences. Primary school, I'll be honest, I can't remember too much about primary school, but certainly in secondary school was when I knew that the way my brain operated and I operated was different to a lot of other kids.
Yeah,
I wasn't naughty at school.
I was.
Okay, so there's a difference
I was
there.
naughty, yeah.
I wasn't naughty, but I'd push my luck. But my attention span was minimal. If I wasn't interested in a subject or a lesson, I was not even there. I was like you said, looking out the window, watching the birds fly by.
But you weren't necessarily messing around though.
No.
You just sort of lost interest. Yeah.
Maybe little pea shooter at someone, or just messing around like that,
Yeah.
but not naughty stuff. Not to
Yeah.
a point where I'd be in trouble, but
Right.
just cheeky, silly stuff. That's where I was. Going forwards, the only subjects that I did semi okay in was PE, sports, and like woodworking, DT, I think they called it back in the day.
Yeah.
They were the only two subjects that I did okay in, and only one of them I passed because I failed DT amazingly, and now I'm working with my hands. But that was the only two subjects I did, I enjoyed, and I think that was because you are enjoying it, so you'd put more attention
Yeah.
into it.
Oh,
Anything
100%.
else, I just had no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, I was similar. PE, obviously, as a boy, I think that's one of the most popular ones. Music was also another big one for me. Design technology, as you say, doing stuff with your hands. You're not sitting down for a full lesson. You haven't got to listen to the teacher all lesson. You can actually just get on and do stuff. That's the same with all three of those subjects, which I think is probably quite a common thing in lads going through school. I was naughty in school and I listened just enough to get by, to get okay grades.
I'm stopping you there. What did, because I don't know, how many A to C's did you get?
I got 10 within A to C.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got 1.
And I got a B in maths as well.
Did you?
Yeah. Which I think equals my wife as well. And she was proper smart. So I was buzzing with that. And I'm living off that still now. But yeah, so as I say, I listened enough to get by. As soon as I lost interest, then I just became naughty. I was such a class clown. In PE once, I fell off the apparatus, broke my wrist, and the teacher told me to get up and stop being silly. I had a broken wrist. It was in actual pain, but because I played the fool so often, they just thought, it's Paul messing around again. But generally broken wrist. So that was kind of what I was like. I did rarely get detention though, like in senior school, moving on. I rarely got detention just because it meant that I had to spend more time at school. And so I always managed to either talk my way out of detention, which I was very good at, or just make sure I had my homework done. So that I didn't, even if it's doing it on the bus on the way to school, copying off your mate, just make sure you had something to hand in to avoid that detention.
I think when I got detention, I wasn't really doing essentially anything naughty, but it was a case of wrong place, wrong time with a collective of lads that are up to no good, and you're just associated with them, not necessarily the key person, but you're in there and you get caught out. Just silly things. I remember we used to break into the sports hall at lunchtime and just throw basketballs around just because we're lads and we want to just mess around. And it's just silly things like that I'd always be involved in, not necessarily being naughty.
Yeah. So see, I was the person that if there was a group of people doing something wrong, they'd just grab my collar and that's me.
Yeah.
Just forget the rest. It's probably him. He's probably the instigator. He's probably the one doing it. And 9 times out of 10, they were probably right. But nonetheless, as you progress through school, I mean, I think the subjects that you're taking, you're starting to think about, right, what's going to help me go to a college or university, a career later on. I can just remember like hearing people around me being like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to that college. I'm going to go to that university. I want to be that when I'm older. And I literally had no idea. And, I think in sort of like year 10, 11, the last couple of years of school, when it starts to get a bit serious about you thinking about leaving school and what you're going to do, I was a little bit worried because I thought, well, I have no idea. I don't want to be in school. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to go to university. I have no idea what I'm going to do. And I was actually a bit worried. So I knew I had to get out there and work and do something because, you need to earn to get by. So that was quite worrying. But there was no advice around school. There was no sort of options, if you like, when you're choosing those subjects to progress your career. There's no one to actually like talk to and say, well, I'm unsure, or this is kind of what I like doing. And they say, right, okay, I think this could be the career path for you, and just try and help and guide you. None of that. You sort of really left to your own devices. And I think that's why a lot of sort of teenagers would be so unsure about what they want to do when they're older, because they don't get the guidance at school that they potentially need to, divert off of an academic route.
Yeah, I remember probably year 9, year 10 was when the word career started coming around as, vocabulary and things you'd start talking about. And I remember there was such thing as a careers day, but I don't remember what was in it. And that makes me think it wasn't anything worth its while. Back in the day, I was convinced that I wanted to be a mechanic. And I think that came from...
As in like a car sort of mechanic?
Yeah, that was... And I had an interest in cars. A lot of my youth, I was messing around with motocross bikes, pit bikes, taking them apart, putting them back together again. And that's where that sort of kind of interest in mechanics came from, because I liked working with my hands. I liked taking things apart. I liked putting it back together. And that was what I was convinced I was going to do.
So non-academic, as we say.
Yeah, and I knew as you said, by that point, university, college... there was no way I could have gone. I was failing in school as it was. I would never have got the grades to go, and I didn't have the brain to go to uni and study other things anyway. I'm not that type of person. And I knew that, and I accepted that from an early age. And then I think after I wanted to be a mechanic, I think I did. Do you remember doing that thing in either year 10 or year 11 where you go and do like a couple of weeks work experience?
Yeah, I went to 2 different football clubs for that.
Okay. So on that point, I went with my dad, who was a plumber.
Right.
And it was because it was easy. It was the easy option.
Yeah.
Didn't have to try or go anywhere. It was just go with him, do a bit of work. I'd already done it previously on Saturdays with him. So it kind of just happened. And then I think from there, that's when I was kind of guided down that path of this could be an option for me.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's just reminded me about how much of a waste of time that 2 weeks was, because obviously like it's helped you and it's given you an indication of the path you want to go down. For me, I just looked at what could be the most easy thing that I could do, or what would I love to do, and that's play football. So I did a week's coaching, and then I went another week to an actual football club, and yeah, literally just spent like the week or so living the life of a footballer, like training at like 10 a.m. for a couple of hours, banter with the lads, bit of lunch, listen to the manager's team talks and that sort of stuff, home early when everyone else is like still in their office, like bored out their skull. And I'm like, this is great. But I knew it was never, ever going to be anything that I was ever going to be close to becoming. So it was a really good experience and cool, because it is something I never experienced, but it never helped me to even understand what I want to do, or give me an experience to be like, yeah, I could do that. I was miles from it.
Yeah.
It did give me that insight into something I would never do. It actually, to be fair, it did get me a part-time job after that at the football ground, like working on match days within the clubs. That was cool. So actually, it did give me a little bit of an idea of working for money at the weekends, just a sort of Saturday job, which was quite cool.
Yeah, I always think I had a different experience, obviously, because I was fortunate that my dad was doing what he was doing, and it was easy for me to go and experience that whenever I wanted for a bit of extra cash on Saturday, or doing work experience, or knowing that was an option for me at the end of school. But I do think without that, as you said, I'd have really, really struggled with what do I want to do? Where do I even start? How do I do it? I'm not a smart person.
Did you ever think like, oh, well, whatever I do, I've always got a job with dad kind of thing? No. I
never thought that, because I think I was scared of that, like not taking the opportunity with dad. Not that he would ever be like, oh no, you've chosen something else now, you can't come back. But that was kind of like, I remember from sort of year 10, that was what I was going to do, because I think I'd accepted in myself that it was easy. I had a slight interest in it, and I could make some okay money off it. College was relatively short. It wasn't anything too intense. But like when I finished school, what I said earlier, I only got one A to C, which was in English. So I only just scraped getting into college to train as a plumber because of my grades from school.
Right.
And I had to, embarrassingly, after every college day when I was training to be a plumber, I had to stay an extra hour at the end to resit my maths GCSE.
Right, okay.
So I had to study with a external tutor. There was a few of us in the class, and we had to resit our maths GCSE to get at least a C or higher to be able to then qualify to get our MVQ level 2,
right,
to be a qualified
yeah.
plumber.
Yeah.
And that was, again, when you say like university or anything else, I knew that was not even an option for me because I pretty much failed school as it was.
Yeah.
I had to do something with my hands. It was the only option for me. And I think the whole school system in the UK is a little bit tough for kids like that, because you're kind of shoved out. You know, the general route for a lot of kids that are academically smart is you get your decent grades, you go off to uni or college, you study something you want to do, and you go off into the world. Whereas when you're...
And then spend 20 years repaying all that money that you borrowed to go to uni.
Whereas when you go through school like us, not much attention, don't want to be there, ain't got an interest, no one tells you or guides you that, right, this kid here, we can tell he's, you know, he works with his hands. He's not smart, he's not academically, he needs to go down that route. You don't get that. You kind of have to figure that out by yourself. And I think it's when you accept that I'm not like these other kids. And my sister at the time was really... She was academically smart. She takes after my dad. I take after my mum. She'll hate that for saying that. Sorry, mum. But she was smart. So I was always then compared to her. She was doing really well in school. She got great grades and subsequently went off to university, but then dropped out because it wasn't for her either. So there was a bit of pressure there that, you know, Charlie done it. You need to do it. But I couldn't do it because I just could not. For me, school is like you get told information and you're tested on how well you can retain that information and then recite it down on a bit of paper at a later date. I can't do that. I cannot do that. My brain does not work like that. I need to do something with my hands, make a mistake, and I'll never do it again. And I learned the lesson that way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I forget someone's name 5 minutes after they told me what it is, so let alone remember it 6 months down the line on the test. I mean, I had a little bit of a different pressure because when I left school, that was around the time that I first met Laura and we started dating. Now, she comes from a very lovely family, all very smart, good jobs, all very well. Different kind of class from my family in the nicest possible way, for my family, that is. But I felt the need to show Laura and her family that I'm not just this class clown from school that's got nothing going for him. Like, I actually had to do something. So I started doing this college course, but it was basically 3 or 4 days a week down at an army barracks, learning the fundamentals of plumbing, brickwork and carpentry from ex-tradesmen.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, cool, that'd be good. Yeah, get me something there. I can get into a trade and I can, you know, do something with that. Again, none of those subjects really interested me too much. There wasn't anything sort of, I don't know, technically interesting about it. So although I could do it, I never really had a passion for it at all. There was a good group of lads that did it, all like-minded, and we just basically had the biggest laugh going. And we're with like ex-tradesmen as well, so they know the banter as well. And it was just a great few months, but I wasn't really achieving much from it. I think there was one class that sticks out to me that I remember now, and it was a theory class, believe it or not, something that I thought, oh, for God's sake, we have to sit down in the classroom today. But it was all about like quoting up jobs and not in so many words, or not in as sophisticated term as a variation, but they were talking about variations on jobs and how you'd cost it. And I remember that they sat the class down and said, right, if you're, let's say, building an extension for a customer and they say, oh, actually, I want to move that a little bit out there and make that a little bit bigger or something, what would be your response? And obviously, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, like you say, yeah, because the customer, you have to please the customer, make sure they're happy with everything. And no one said, well, perhaps we need to look at if there's any like cost differential here to what's been quoted. And if there is, then we need to reevaluate the cost difference and inform the client and get an approval before we start any additional work. And it really stuck out in my mind because I was like, God, yeah, if you're running a business, like, you're literally just going to lose money if you're just trying to please a customer without doing the right thing on paper. It's not going to upset the customer. They should appreciate they've changed the goalposts on the job. So that really stuck out to me. And it was the first real time that I thought, yeah, that all makes sense. And I just love that theory and that aspect of it. And that's what, or one of the things that made me think, yeah, I could run a business and I could do that. I reckon I've got the sort of people skills to be able to have those sort of awkward conversations, but also love the fact that you're looking at the intricacies of these jobs and making more value for yourself as well. And that's probably about all I took away from that whole course. I dropped out of that because my mate's dad offered me an opportunity to go and do air conditioning, which was just purely down to the fact that I could go and earn 30 quid for a day's work rather than going down to the army barracks and learning how to put a bit of cement on a brick.
Mate, honestly, now when I look back at what my dad was paying me when I left school, he was having it off.
Mate, I was loving it. For 30 quid a day, I knew that it was low, but from having nothing to then on a Friday getting 150 quid and the next Friday getting another 150 quid, when all my mates were, going to college and not earning anything, I felt flush.
I think I was on about that when I started with him. And like you said, I was in that same situation. You were going uptown, buying clothes, because you had this money that all your mates didn't. You know, go out the weekend and...
Lived at home, no cost.
Yeah, and you weren't paying nothing. But it's hard work. And you can't get away from the fact that it's hard work.
Super early.
Yeah.
And doing the lowest of the low job that there is on a building site in London in the freezing cold.
And I think that is a hard hill to get over. When you go from school, bit of college, bit of messing around, to that's when it's like, wow, this is work. This is what it is. I'm here now.
But you could see the progress. The guy that I was working for was an absolute genius in his field. He was great. And I thought, God, I'd be like him one day, because I could see the respect that he got either on site or for the people that we contracted through. And he was paid really good money. And I thought, that's what I could do.
Yeah.
This guy's doing it. He's got the respect. His quality of what he does, different place every day. This is great. And so you could see like a progression of what you could do. And it's the first time that I ever thought I could do that. And that's going to give me a career, a job, and a bit of security for, building a family later on in life, because it obviously would take several years to get to that point.
So when you started that, was you interested in the work at all, or was it more the fact that this guy, you could kind of see the future and he'd got to where he had got to with doing air conditioning, so then you looked at air conditioning as more of like a door to the future of where he was?
Yeah, well, this was, it wasn't actually air conditioning, it was refrigeration. So it was like walk-in cold rooms, walk-in freezer rooms and stuff like that. So it was all for like restaurants and stuff like that around London. We worked at some really cool places. Worked at McLaren in Wokingham. We worked in Wembley Stadium, 178 cold rooms there. Little fun fact for anyone that cares. And in fact, funny story about that Wembley. I always, whenever I talk about that Wembley job, it always comes down, the stadium is almost finished and everything's commissioned, everything's running, and we're just having to go around all of the food outlets, make sure everything's all good. And the guy that I was working for got into the lift and I was a little bit behind him, so I was sort of rushing for the lift just as the doors are closing. So I put my foot in the lift to like stop the door, and it stopped abruptly, opened up, got in the door, and this guy that's from the lift company, I can't remember who it was now, but the company. But anyway, he was like, "Oh, don't do that!" Like, and I'm just this 18-year-old lad, this big butch, but "Oh, don't do that" to me. And I like looked like, oh my God, like I was really scared. And then the guy that I was working for, obviously, I had my back. And he was like, "All right, calm down, mate." And he just turned to him and went, "I'll calm down on your head in a minute." I was like, and me and him just like looked at each other, and we just started laughing. And the guy didn't know what to do. And we're in this lift, like going up, just waiting for the doors to open again so we could leave out of this awkwardness. But
there was a lot of that. I remember,
story.
like back in the day, there was a lot of that went on in the trade industry, weren't there? Like,
bolshy tradesmen.
Like puff your chest out. I'm the man here. A lot of that.
Yeah.
Like as we were just saying for you, when you saw it, I always had the vision of my old man because I saw what he'd done, and I sort of had that vision as you had the guy there as well. However, I think it took me a long time to realise that I enjoyed plumbing, because I think it was a long time of learning how to do plumbing before you then trusted to do it by yourself. And once I could then be left by myself and I'd read drawings and do whatever, and then we progressed on to like doing big plant rooms and boiler rooms, that's when I really sort of found my won't say love or passion, because I've never really
It
been
became
super passionate about it.
interesting,
Yeah, but it gave me stimulation in that I go in and you've got, this empty room, and then you've got to fit all this stuff in from a drawing and make it work.
Yeah,
and that is when
I think I'm pretty much the same, in so much as it wasn't that I looked at walk-in cold rooms and walk-in freezer rooms and air conditioning and thought, cool, yeah, fancy a bit of that.
Yeah.
It was more that I was like, I liked the career path and opportunity they give you, and it was interesting to learn about it because it was something I'd never done before. So that's more that interested me. And then obviously the longer you do it, the better you get at it, and you're like, well, I'm kind of good at this, and it's got a career path, so you sort of like stick with it.
I think that, and there's so many great things about having a trade or being a tradesman, in that you can leave school, work in the trade, and work for one company for 45 years and retire, and that's it. You can then, on the other side, you can run your own business. You can grow that business and have hundreds of employees, all from being a tradesman from school. You get in what you put out, I believe, in the trade, and you can make it as much or as little as you want, stress-wise.
Yeah.
Based on who you are as a person and what you want from life.
And the opposite from school is so much as you can be in a different place every day. You're surrounded by like-minded people, and everyone has a laugh, but everyone wants to get a job done, make some money, and go home.
And I think with our, I know we've got very similar brain types because we've, known each other so long now, but going back to school when you lose attention quickly, your brain is somewhere else, you're trying to cause trouble, you're trying to distract someone else. When you are in the job of refrigeration, air conditioning, plumbing, electrics, anything, and you have a problem to solve, you can't daydream. You can't be there like with your brain somewhere else. You've got a problem to fix.
That's what keeps you focused.
And it keeps you stimulated.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that people like us and people in trades look for, is that stimulation. And if a job becomes mundane and sameish, that's when it's time to move on.
It's funny to say that, because that's exactly the reason why I moved out of doing installations into then breakdowns and repairs, because I got let go by this guy because basically he was a one-man band, and as I'm getting older and learning more, he couldn't afford to keep paying me the rate, but because he can't charge more himself.
Yeah.
So it was difficult for him. So I left him and I moved to another company where my brother-in-law was working, and was doing installs for air conditioning. Now, refrigeration is more technical and challenging than it was air conditioning. So when I started installing AC, I was like, well, this is so easy compared to what I was doing. So I sort of flew through the installation side of it, and again, was talking to the managers and the bosses about doing something on the breakdown side because it was more interesting. I had never done it before in my life, and literally they were like, are you sure you can do it? And I was like, yeah. There's another guy that had been there 20 years, and I remember him saying to me on the phone, not on the phone, on the way back from a job once, and the next day I was going to be getting my van and going out and doing these jobs on my own, and he said, so do you think you're ready then? And I was like, yeah, be all right. And he laughed. I just thought, like, do you know what I mean? Like, so that's the sort of like thing that spurred me on, because I was like, I'm gonna go and do it, mate. Like, and do you know what? I'm now not looking at the one man band guy and thinking, yeah, I'll be like him one day. I was now looking at the owner of the company and thinking, he's so good at what he does. He's got this whole company going. That's what I want to be like. Yeah. So when this guy in the middle that's been there 20 years, that's like laughing because he thinks that I'm not ready to go and look at a breakdown on a system just because I was young, I was like, mate, I'm going to go and do it. Yeah. Whatever you say.
See, I think I was the opposite to you with the breakdown and the install. I preferred the install when I got onto it. But with the way my journey was, you start on the breakdown because it's generally smaller work. You're in people's houses. And then I went on to more of a commercial sort of install, boiler rooms, plant rooms, big fit outs of buildings. And I really enjoyed that for quite a few years. And then when that became mundane-ish, because as you said, eventually it does get the same. My dad got the opportunity to do a install on a hotel in Shepherd's Bush in London. Mm-hmm. And it was way bigger than any job he'd ever taken, but he took it and we'd figure it out. And we did figure it out. And we were fitting floors of this hotel out, pipe work into the rooms, to the fan coil units. And he decided to put us on a price for doing it. So me and a couple of other lads ganged together and we were given a price to fit the entire floor out from him. And I remember at the time I had a mate of mine from school who was kind of labouring for my dad. We got him with us on the price and he was making up clips in the storeroom.
Yeah.
And we worked out by ourselves that if we had this little operation going, we could make really good money. Dad was safe because it was a price that worked for him. All we had to do was do it as quickly and efficiently as possible to make as much money as we could. And that's when it became fun again.
Yeah.
Because now you're slinging lengths of pipe in as quick as you can. And the quicker you get it done, the more money you make. And that then became fun again. And then obviously from that job, I did that for probably another 3 years with Dad when he was contracting in London. And then I got off the tools and went into the management aspect of it.
Yeah, I used to love a price job. That
good.
brings back memories of like weekend jobs where you get a sneaky little install. I remember I did one at a petrol station once, a little install there, which you'd usually allow maybe like a couple of days, maybe 2.5 days to do. Me and my brother-in-law did it in a day, just because it was like, if we knock this out, it's decent money.
I think you really learn your work ethic when you're given that opportunity to work on a price.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, when you're not on a day rate anymore or on hourly pay, and what you earn is a direct impact of what you put in, hours don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
You want to stay there 12, 14 hours a day. Get it done.
Yeah.
If I've got a price that should be 4 days work and I get it done in 2, I'm earning double money.
Yeah.
And it's really good money.
Yeah.
And everyone's happy because there's great progress on site.
Yeah.
And it wins for everyone.
It was amazing how quickly you could get jobs done when the boss says, look, if you get this done in good time, you can go home. Like, it's amazing how all of a sudden you can get things done
Quickly.
So then moving on, obviously we both made the change over to Dubai later on after we've sort of learnt our trade. I was well aware that when I moved to Dubai, I wasn't going to be on the tools anymore. Obviously from research, you find out what the script is over here in that regard. So the best option was to go into sort of project management and construction. It didn't work for me, not to say it's not going to work for the next person. Your thoughts, I mean, I know we've touched on it in previous episodes, but your thoughts were similar? That you thought you were going to come out here and sort of manage something rather than going onto a job and installing pipe work?
Yeah, by the time I'd moved to Dubai, I was off the tools. I'd got into more management, a position in London. And I came here thinking I'd do something the same. If somebody would have said to me back then before I left, when you get there, you'll be a plumber again, back on the tools, I'd have laughed and said, not a chance. That it doesn't happen in Dubai. You can't do it. I've looked, and I did look into the market, read articles, looked at what people were doing, what people were saying. It just doesn't work. And that was one thing that I never thought I'd end up doing until I got here and we had the conversation that we had.
I mean, and in that sense of like being back on the tools, obviously we did, along with Matt, who was doing the electrical at the time, us three were all back on the tools at one point because we had to do what we had to do. We knew that as a business, it wasn't sustainable to go and employ 50 other Brits on tradesman rates because you can't compete with the rates out here on those sort of salaries. We knew it wasn't, but we did what we had to do to start the business and get the ball rolling. I mean, I'm still quite proud that. I mean, unless anyone wants to challenge me, but as far as I know and as far as I've ever seen and all the research I've done, there's not been any other qualified British tradesmen that have been on the tools in Dubai. And I stand by the fact that I think that myself, you and Matt were the first 3 Brits on the tools physically working in Dubai. There's a few people trying it now that are out there. They'll learn the same as what we have.
I think the important thing there is, and the important thing there is that have gone on to then run a company and have that direct experience, that first-hand experience of what goes on out here. Plumbing in Dubai is so much different to the UK. I felt like I was relearning it all again.
Yeah,
there was so many problems I had to overcome, times where I thought, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing.
It felt like I was going back in time.
Yeah.
The technology that was used here, I couldn't believe it.
And I think it's so simple that you overcomplicate it because you come from the UK where everything's really over-engineered and designed, and you come here and everything's so simple.
Well, I'd go to call-outs and I'd be like, is that all it is?
Yeah.
That's the basis of this system.
Yeah.
I'm having to test PC boards back in London to work out what a fault is. Here, it's all like manual contactors and relays and stuff. And I'm like, it
must be the same as like mechanics diagnosing a car from the 80s and a car from today with so many different computers and modules that run it. Whereas back in the day, you had cables and basic electrics.
But it was great because it set our reputation off because I'd be going around and fixing all these problems that other people couldn't because it appeared so basic.
Because of your skill from the UK.
Exactly, yeah. So that helped. I mean, when we look at that and what we did in those first couple of years being on the tools, it's hard when somebody messages us, and it does happen quite a lot. Either someone messages us for a job, from the UK, I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician, I'm a AC engineer, looking to come out. Have you got any jobs? Obviously, we don't employ from the UK anyway, but even to try and offer someone advice, I would find it really hard to say to someone, well, you can either go into project management or you can come out here and set up a business and work on the tools for a couple of years, try and get a couple of quid behind you and set up a business. I wouldn't even recommend someone to do that, because it's such a challenge, such a huge risk that you have to bear to find it out yourself, because the lengths that we all went through in that first year were very risky, financially, risky physically, because we're on our own. So I find it so hard to even offer any advice, because I know that what I did maybe not the right way to go about it, but it happened to work out.
It's different. It's a different situation for everyone. And as I said earlier, had somebody said to me, you're going to go to Dubai and get back on the tools and be a plumber, I'd have laughed and said, no, it can't happen, because I knew what Dubai was.
I was embarrassed to do it when I first did it. I was embarrassed to do it.
I think when, I was already in a management position, I'd already broke away from the tools. I was a manager where I was working in the UK. So I'm going to come here and be a manager. I'm going to manage something. That's what I thought when I came here. And I thought it was going to be easy. And it wasn't. And I ended up inadvertently starting my own business, but going back to plumbing. I fell back on the trade that, I'd done for so long. So when somebody says, on an Instagram message or an email or LinkedIn or anything, when they get in touch, and that classic thing is, I'm looking at moving to Dubai, I'm thinking about moving to Dubai, do you have any vacancies for a plumber, for an electrician, for an air conditioning engineer? You already know that they've, not to put it harshly, but they've not done the market research.
They have not done any research,
because they've not researched their company, they've not approached it in the right way. And as we always say, when somebody says, I'm looking to move to Dubai, how serious are you looking? Because as Dubai goes, you have to employ somebody with a working visa. That costs the company money. So if you're just looking, how can you take someone seriously?
Yeah, it's almost like they're waiting for us to go, oh, cool, yeah, brilliant. Fly out and I'll give you a visa and pick you up and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and great, sorted.
If I had to give anyone any form of advice at all, it would be come to Dubai, try and meet people. We'll sit with anyone for a coffee.
Yeah,
I'll happily sit with anyone for a coffee. If somebody's got questions, they want to come to our office, have a chat, ask away, our experiences, what they can take from it. I'll happily help anyone, because moving to Dubai is an amazing thing if you get it to work.
Yeah,
but it's such a big, daunting thing if you don't know where to start.
Yeah, there was a lad who did exactly that. Actually, I think he might have been Welsh. Can't remember. But anyway, he had messaged me and said, I am coming to Dubai because, want to start a life out there, blah, blah, blah. I want to get into air conditioning. I'm thinking of setting up my own business. Now, he could be a potential sort of challenger for our business, but I was like, yeah, cool. Look, when you're here, come over to the office and let's have a chat. So he came into the office and we had a chat. I told him exactly what it was like starting a business, exactly what it was like in our business, shared everything with him. And he was like, yeah, cool. Yeah, do you know, I'm going to really consider this. I'm really tempted to give it a go, but I'm going to go and have a really hard think about it. He did. He actually let me know, say, look, I've actually, decided against it and I'm going to give real estate a go. So he's gone into real estate doing like commercial rents or something like that. And as far as I believe, he's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So there's opportunity for a career change completely.
That was my fail safe. I thought when I came here that if it all didn't work out, I'd go into real estate.
Yeah,
and just hope that you can. It's a non-salary. You might be able to make something yourself. You might not, but you never know. But I just think, get out here. Try. Even if you come out for a week on a holiday, just try and sit with people, understand how it works out here. Especially if you're in a trade, because the trade in Dubai or the Middle East is completely different to the UK.
Yeah,
you can't come out here and just work for a company and start fixing problems like you can in the UK. It's just a different market.
Yeah.
If you've got a set of skills that you believe is really going to be beneficial to a company like ours, like someone else's, you need to come out and sell yourself.
Yeah. I actually think that the probably the best route for tradesmen that are looking to come to Dubai to make something of themselves is probably the project manager route. As I say, it didn't work for me, but there is opportunities for that sort of on the tools experience on these construction sites in Dubai.
And there always will be. And I guess the time that we're in now is that we're in a different age to where you'd get recruited from the UK, because there is so many other Brits or Europeans or, people here that want that job.
Yeah.
Already been here 5-10 years. and they've got a life here. They want that job that you want. So you've got to ask yourself, why would someone take you from the UK when there's somebody already here that can start the next day or the next month?
Get out here, talk to people, network.
And sell yourself. If you really are a good person and good at what you do, you need to be here and network. And as I said, I had no idea what I was going to do when I got here at all. Saw an opportunity from Facebook, put two and two together, contacted Matt, no reply, contacted you, got a reply, met you, and here we are today.
Yeah.
And it's just something you don't know what you're going to get, and you have to think on your feet. But ultimately, I said to you in that email, the embarrassing email I sent you, I'm coming to Dubai. And then followed up with, I'm in Dubai.
So you've just admitted that you did send it before you come to
Only
Dubai.
because you tell me about it all the time. You tell me about it all the time. Like, I know it's on your phone, and I'm not going to push it too far because you could show it to the camera.
And the date is prior to you arriving.
I don't remember it, but you remind me it's there, so I know it's there. But that was like, I'm coming to Dubai on this date. And then it was, the next one was, I'm in Dubai. Now, if somebody messages us and like, I'm coming to Dubai in February, can we have a chat? Yeah, cool. Message me when you get here.
Yeah.
I'm in Dubai, can we have a chat? Yeah, 100%. Like, I think I've got a soft spot for people that want to try it, and especially a tradesman that want to come out here and try something. I'll always try and give my time because I think it's such a daunting task. We've lived it, we've been through it. I want to help other people, and I want to give what we've learned to other people.
Yeah, and one of the things that I never got was any help.
No.
So it's always in my mind as well that if somebody asks, I'll answer and try and help as best as I can. More so if you're here than if you're just sending a blind message. But I've in the past messaged several different people, leaders of business out here, people that I look up to, and you either don't get a reply or you get a generic reply, and you're just like, do you know what, Paul? No one's going to help you here, mate. You're on your own too.
Yeah, and I'm really glad we've spoke about it in this sort of chat, because now when people send messages or want to know more, you can listen to the chat we've had just now, which sort of covers the basics of what we're trying to say to people when they email us, a lot of times. But you can kind of get a basis of where we're trying to come from. It's hard to repeat that every time to somebody.
Yeah.
But
I'm just going to send her the link to this episode now.
Yeah, I'll get more views on it as well. But yeah, I think we've covered the most of it there. The crux of it is set a date, come out here, try and meet people in the industry you want to work in, get a feel for how the industry works before you come out here, so you already understand the industry.
We're still doing it now.
Yeah.
We're still doing it now with our new venture into renovations, which is really kicking off nicely. We're doing it yesterday. We're going and meeting people and talking to people that we can collaborate with, people that can help us, people that we can help. It's just what you got to do.
And I think that's such a big market here of people that want to help people. In the UK, it's different. But like yesterday, we were expecting nothing. They were expecting nothing. It was just, this is who we are. This is who we are. This is what we do. Cool. This is what we do. Great. Let's, and you just make a relationship there. Nothing might come of it. But that one day when you do, you met that person. Oh, yeah, I remember them. They were really nice. They were good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing. Just get here, meet with people in the industry you want to get into, and try and understand where you can slot into somewhere. Dubai's a different place to what it was 10 years ago. I know that. There's a lot of people here now with a lot of skills and a lot of jobs to fill. So you've got to be confident in yourself that you've got something that someone else hasn't.
Yeah.
What is that?
Get your face out there. Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, like moving it on now to the present day. We're a couple of weeks into the year.
Yeah.
Into our 7th year of the business now. As we mentioned there, we just kicked off the sort of renovation side of the business. Not launched it in so much like publicly, but we are networking on that front. We've got a few exciting projects that we're getting involved with. It's been a really busy, positive start to the year. We've beaten our monthly target by quite a lot. It's quite a substantial target we've beaten on the AC install side of it. The teams are all busy. It's January. It's reasonably cool outside.
And we're fighting for spots in the diary.
So it's been a pretty positive start to the year so
really
far.
Good. It feels like Christmas was about 3 months ago already. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I look forward to talking more about that subject in the future.
Yeah, I think once we are really out there and these projects that we're going to be involved in are kicking off, and we're actively involved in them. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year. I think we're doing everything we need to do. There's so much that we still need to work at, so much that we still need to do and improve by, but it's all stuff that I just can't wait to get stuck into.
And as I said earlier, when you got these challenges, that's what keeps us entertained and busy and focused.
Yep.
So
got to keep going.
Yeah, I think we're we'll wrap that up there. It was really interesting to talk about the school life and progression into trade and getting over to here. And look forward to the next one, mate.
Yeah, good stuff. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.